This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it is a lovely Monday here in Pittsburgh. Steelers rookie minicamp is over.
Yeah.
We won't see the team back on the field now for a couple of weeks, and of course we're still getting a little bit of the fallout from the George Pickens trade. And I just want to be perfectly clear about one thing here.
Yeah. Let's go.
I think you and I have been pretty consistent with our messaging on George Pickens throughout the process. We were both disappointed in some of his behavior last year in the field.
Yeah.
We ripped said behavior when said behavior, the eye black and all that stuff.
Right.
It was not okay. Nobody ever said that was okay here. We didn't try to sugarcoat that.
It's pretty dumb, really.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we've both been pretty clear on the trade. The trade itself, okay, it happened. Something else has to happen here. If something else doesn't happen, if they don't sign another receiver, I'm not even saying before training camp, if they don't have another receiver on the roster before the start of the regular season,
right, I'm
going to be disappointed.
Yeah. Of note,
critical,
not just
better
than
just
Robert
another
Woods.
guy, yeah.
Better than Robert Woods at this stage of his
career. There has to be
you
some kind of Pickens replacement there.
I 100% agree, and I'll also give him credit. I think he came a long way as a player this year too, with his route running and his versatility.
Nobody's ever
after the catch.
It's never been a situation where George Pickens isn't a good football player.
Right. Now, I don't think he's a bad scheme fit either here, but I also think some of his over-the-middle stuff has to be concerning for an Arthur Smith-based offense, and everyone's going to be like, well, they don't throw over the middle. Russell Wilson doesn't throw over the middle. Arthur Smith wants to, and Metcalf's going to do a lot of in-breaking routes. As far along as Pickens came as a receiver in the last year, the in-breaking stuff, he's not catching deep digs over the middle, and his effort on those were pretty poor, to be honest with you.
Think about the one he dropped in the regular season finale against the Bengals. It was a skinny post kind of run.
Yeah.
20 yards down the field, and he just dropped it. Just dropped it.
Yeah, and that's a problem. Now, you're not a better team on game day without him. There's no.
We're not arguing that at all. It would be silly to do so.
Right, but a third-round pick is a decent compensation. Now, in the third round, you probably won't get someone as talented as him. It's not a one-for-one.
But it allows you to draft somebody maybe in the second round or the first round, knowing that you have those additional picks coming.
You have options,
yeah.
Right? I mean, you're very fluid with on draft day. You're fluid with trades. You have a lot of chips in the bank to do something with. Now, to ignore that there's some character personality stuff with Pickens is wrong. I mean, there is. I mean, he rubs people the wrong way. He's hard to be around from all accounts. He doesn't know who I am. I've never met him in my life. But I trust people to say that he's a distraction or isn't always best for the team, And if that's the case, we saw that with Antonio Brown. We kind of saw that with Deontay Johnson, Claypool, Juju. None of those guys went on to do great things post-Steelers. And that's a pretty strong track record at that position.
Yeah, and I don't know necessarily that George was, quote-unquote, disliked in the locker room universally.
Right.
There were some guys in the locker room who didn't like the distraction that Pickens caused. And what the Steelers did by getting rid of him now was eliminate further distractions if his contracts became an issue.
Right, which is on the horizon. I mean, everyone knows the contract's coming up. Right. I mean, that's going to be an issue.
Deontay Johnson did a hold-in, when he was going through his contract talks. That was during COVID.
Yeah.
A hold-in in this situation is something that every guy on that roster is going to be asked about on a daily basis.
Right.
And it becomes a distraction.
It's like a Shador Sanders conversation.
Yeah.
Like when's it worth it, when's it not? I mean, if it's TJ Watt, it's worth it. If it's Pickens and you're not sure if you're going to invest in him, period. And that's the thing. I mean, I don't think I'm breaking any news here that on the middle of May, early May, their intentions weren't to extend him.
No. The idea And I heard it put out there. Well, they could extend him before the season. That was never their intent.
They could if they wanted.
They
but
could.
I don't think that was ever going to
happen.
happen.
There were no talks about it.
And the fact that the trade happened just affirms that.
Yeah, it shows you that was the case.
You wouldn't have traded him for a third-round pick if you were going to be here the next 5 years.
But we're not kicking a guy going out the door.
No.
And reading through some of the comments on our YouTube channel, you guys were all supportive of George Pickens before he left. That was never the case. We were when George Pickens made mistakes. I said he played the worst game of his career in that Cincinnati Bengals game, and for the regular season finale. What more do you want me to say? He played the worst game of his career. Yeah. How more critical can I be of the guy?
Yeah. Now
cut him.
I just said I thought he came along as a player.
Sure. Took
a nice step. His first year was really raw. Like ran 2 routes and then better. And boy, he was missed when he was out. I mean, that just shows
no doubt about it.
That was a blow that they could not
day.
Overcome when he left the lineup. He is important. He is valuable. But they know those things too. And the day they traded for Metcalf is when they covered their butt for that. Now, again, I hope, and I will be critical. I hope they're not done, and I'll be critical if they're not. Again, it doesn't have to happen tomorrow, but you need another receiver that is somewhat threatening. Because I don't want the same thing to happen when Metcalf gets hurt. The
idea that they didn't do anything at all last year, well, they knew they had that problem with Pickens, and they didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. I've seen that on the X Twitter. I've seen it on everywhere in social media. They did. They tried to trade for Brandon Ayuk. They made several other efforts to make deals on guys, and they finally did acquire Mike Williams. Now, Mike Williams wasn't the answer.
Right. But I would argue they didn't do enough.
They didn't do enough.
Right.
But let's not pretend that they didn't try.
Oh, no.
To address it.
Now, anyone who listens to The Drive or doesn't live under a rock in Pittsburgh knows
we've been talking about this for 2 years.
Ayuk and all the different names, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think any of that was made up.
None of it. They were trying to get something done. I think
there was close to deals happening several times that didn't happen. Now, I think they probably learned their lesson a little bit, too, with the Metcalf move, saying we don't want to be in that situation again where we're hoping to make a deal or it's close to making a deal and get shut out, which implies to me that they think that they can get a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's just signing Amari Cooper, you could do that today probably. You don't. That's not a negotiation with another team.
The idea that he's a player in decline. I
have really mixed feelings on Cooper. Are you talking about Cooper?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of him.
He's a player in decline. This is a guy who 2 years ago had this in 2023, 72 catches for 1,250 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's had a really good career. He's been traded for good stuff, too, which I always think is an indicator.
That was his age 28 season. Age 29 season. Overall, he had 44 catches for about 550 yards and 4 touchdowns.
That's last year.
And he missed some games.
See, last year's so weird. That's why I don't know what to think of him.
That's the thing. But this idea that he's clearly in decline. Like, is he? I don't know.
I worry that the beginning of the decline has just happened, and they told us what they,
sure.
In the league speaking
that could be the case. I mean, but he's still just 30.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a former 5th pick in the draft.
He played in 14 games last year and had 44 catches, 547 yards and 4 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. I don't know that he was ever healthy in Buffalo.
That's the thing. That's my big problem with it. Is I guess we didn't dig into this enough, but Matt Harmon really laid this out, who's super into receivers, and he did all the free agents, and he said the same thing. He's like, does he move like he did coming out of Bama? No. And
nobody does. Right. Nobody moves like a 21-year-old when they're 30.
He wouldn't be the 5th pick in the draft right this second, of course. But he was really talented, and he's got a lot of ability to start with. And as all these dudes, just like Pickens, he's gotten craftier and understands the trade, how to get open at this level. And his Cleveland tape, if you just isolate on him, and I did go back and watch a lot of it, he's open a lot, and the guys can't get him the ball. The protection's not there, or the quarterbacks are on their 4th quarterback or whatever. He was noticeably frustrated. Gets traded to Buffalo, which looks like an awesome situation at the deadline, and either got hurt like his first practice at Buffalo. I don't think he got traded as an injured player, but it took him like 3 weeks to even get on the field in Buffalo because of the injury, let alone how hard it is to get with a new team and get the reps with Allen. And they had other options, and they're on a playoff run. And then when he did get on the field, he looked like he shouldn't. Like maybe I'm out there too soon, or I don't know what to do, and he's hesitating, and he's not exploding out of his brakes like he did with the Browns a month before. So I'm sure there's some recency bias that the most recent stuff you see isn't like the rest of his career, but that's only like 4% of his career. You know what I mean? There's a lot more body of work of the good stuff, Again,
in 2023 with Cleveland, in 15 games, he had 72 catches for 1,250 yards.
Yeah. Well, he's been productive his whole career.
I mean,
he was traded for a first-round pick
he averaged
from the Raiders.
83 yards a game 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
And the Bills, I mean, again, trade value means a lot to me. I mean, this was a while ago, but he went for a first-round pick to Dallas.
Right.
I mean, he was in his prime. He's come off his first contract. But at the trade deadline as a rental, the Bills gave up a third for him.
Right.
Based off his Browns tape. That's not Mike Williams for a sixth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
a much different move.
Coming off an injury that...
Right. That's like as big a trade deadline deal as you'll see. Is I'm giving up a third for what I hope is maybe 12 games deep into the playoffs.
So I'm sure there are listeners out there going, well, why hasn't he signed yet then?
Yeah, I don't know.
I assume it's a money issue.
Yeah. Or maybe he's not 100% healthy. Maybe he can't pass a physical. I have heard that he's not a bad, but a unique character, that he kind of beats to his own drummer or whatever. I have no idea what that means. Is there only 2 or 3 teams he's interested in? Dallas was heavily rumored to, who knows, to have, maybe he'd be a Cowboy if the Steelers said no to the Pickens deal. That seemed like that was on the cusp.
But if he's,
he's going to be on a team, he's going to play.
Gabe Davis was released earlier last week or late last week and signed a couple of days later and got, I think, just over $8 million.
I think that was a misreport. I retweeted that, and 5 people told me, go double check the it was like Adam Schefter. It was one of those moves. So I think he's still a free agent.
Okay.
Yeah, because there was a couple people, a lot of us fell for it.
I saw it. You retweeted it.
I did retweet it, and I kept going back to Twitter. I'm like, I don't know how to delete.
That seemed like a big number for a guy who had just been released.
For one day after he had released, too. No, I think he's a free agent still.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Because I know what I retweeted was wrong.
So, again, I think there are options out there that, while not completely comparable to George Pickens on the field.
But they're weighing them now. Is it
right.
worth
That's what they're doing
Cooper
right now.
For X amount of dollars and no draft picks, or can we get Kirk for a 5th? Or whatever it is,
Yeah.
But I'll be blown away if another shoe doesn't drop.
I would be too, and
I'll be critical.
And if they don't do it, I'll be okay. Now you're back in the same situation you were at in last year.
Slightly better. I'd rather have this room than that room.
Yeah, I feel better about
some
of the guys. Yeah,
the drop off if you lose number 1 is a problem. You become really easy to play against if Metcalf can't go, even for a series.
So I don't know where the disconnect was between what we've consistently said about this and what some people are saying we said about this.
Yeah, that I don't know. But whatever. I was intrigued, and I think we both said this a lot. I would have loved to have seen what that looked like with those 2 monsters on the outside.
If I could guarantee that Pickens was going to be, I mean, once they got through the draft and that didn't happen, and the idea that we didn't entertain that we did mock drafts where we traded George Pickens.
Traded him, right. But
so
not for a 4th round pick.
Yeah, the idea that we didn't entertain the fact or the possibility that Pickens could be traded is ridiculous.
Right. Neither one of us woke up on Pickens trade day and went, oh my gosh, I can't believe they traded him like he's T.J. Watt. I mean, we've known this is
I thought once they got through the draft, okay, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. I thought so too.
But not knowing that Dallas was going to make them an offer they couldn't refuse.
Yeah, I think that's where it's at. And again, you'll be pretty happy when you have 3 third-round picks next year too.
Sure.
I mean, there's some benefits here.
And there are still options out there. And for the Steelers right now, it could be a situation where they're just waiting. And maybe a guy like Amari Cooper's waiting, saying, okay, I came from a situation in Cleveland where
I was about to say the same thing.
We went through 5 quarterbacks in 1 year. Now, again, that was in 2023. They went through 5 quarterbacks that season, and Amari Cooper had 72 catches for 1,250 yards.
Right, with some Junko quarterbacks.
With 5 quarterbacks throwing him the ball.
Yep.
No, I have a hard time believing he has fallen off the cliff that far.
Yes. See, there's a couple things I'm looking at, too, is I would think, I know Metcalf did this, but that was a long time ago and it was a trade. You want to know who the Steelers quarterback is. I mean, could Amari reach out to Aaron and they could have a conversation? Sure. They're allowed to do that, But there's also, could there be a trade candidate that's a post-June 1st guy?
Sure.
I mean, that's only 2 weeks away, guys, 3 weeks away, where the contract makes a lot more sense. DJ Moore is the obvious one, but if he's not on the market, he's not on the market. But a trade candidate, their contracts drastically change post and pre-June 1st.
Yeah.
That could be a deadline too.
And there's all kinds of things that can happen between now and the start of the regular season.
Right. They don't have to be here for OTAs.
No.
I mean, pre-camp would be a pretty good, barometer for me.
Or at least sometime during training camp.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you get some practices in with these guys, I think it'll be all right. But
it's not a trade deadline. Mike Williams, Amari Cooper.
No, I don't see this
running training.
I don't see this running out that long.
No. I'd have a problem if this was the receiver room on opening day. I'd have a problem with it.
Yeah,
without question.
Because the thing is, I think it's some of these teams that drafted wide receivers or drafted even a tight end might get to their mini camp and start looking around going, this rookie we drafted is better than what we thought.
Oh, yeah.
Now this guy's available. We probably live without that guy.
Right. Not rookie mini camp where they're not really doing anything.
No,
not this past weekend.
Trust me. If people saw rookie mini camp,
I have a hunch.
If you hear anything coming out of rookie mini camp that this guy looked good or that guy looked good, question the source.
Unless it's, Yahya Black looks good in pads.
Right. Something like, he really
he's
moves
bigger than
well.
I thought.
Yeah.
Or, okay, but not, man, his routes are crisp and he's setting up defenders. And, you should see his hand placement on this pull as a guard. No, that's not what's happening, folks.
Not at all.
This is kindergarten football.
If that's what you hear, that person is making things up.
Yeah, or needs to write a story from the weekend.
Who's just trying to show how I was there. I was there and I saw it. And I'm telling you, nothing happened of note.
I bet there's some. I don't go to a lot of the sites, but I'm sure there's some editors at Steeler sites or NFL sites. Give me your winners and losers of rookie camp. Oof. Like that would be an impossible article. Right?
I would shoot video of what I could shoot and say, okay, this is what happened. Mm-hmm. Tell me what I'm supposed to write off of that. Yeah.
Black has long arms and he looks good. I knew that, but I haven't met him before. Right.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, FTN Fantasy has come out with their offensive line rankings.
Yeah.
As these teams are now currently constructed coming out of the draft. I thought we'd roll through these and people might get a better idea of where the Steelers' offensive line ranks at.
That was my thoughts on it, too. Like, everyone's going to be like, they're definitely bottom 5, right? They're young, and, they lost 2 guys. And, didn't you watch last year? Let's roll through it. I mean, it's a lean position.
Look at everything across
it.
And I understand. Fans are very Steelers are centralized on their team. They focus on their team.
Right.
Maybe you don't watch any other football than your team, which is fine.
You're not going to watch every snap that's available like I do. You shouldn't. You get a life,
So, yeah. At 32, this according to FTN Fantasy. And they also use the Pro Football Focus ratings and all that kind of stuff.
A little more than I would have liked, but I still think I read. So to pull back the curtain, I cut and paste this, sent it to you, and I started reading 32 up, and I got to about 16 or so. And I like the write-ups, and they talk about the depth and what if this guy fits here and this guy fits there.
Well, if we're going to get through these, we got to get going.
All right, let's roll. I guess we got 32. But the bottom ones aren't as awful this time of year as usual. But that's just because you think draft picks are good.
32 is the Cincinnati Bengals.
How about that? I was a little shocked that they're 32, but it's not a bad case.
Yeah, it's Orlando Brown, Cordero Volson, Ted Karras, Cody Ford, Amarius Mims.
They drafted 2, but the interior is really rough and sort of in a Broderick Jones-like manner without the other good guys that the Steelers have. They're really counting on this guy to take a huge step, and if he doesn't, we got a problem.
31 is the Texans, Cam Robinson, Titus Howard at guard, Jarrett Patterson, Juice Scruggs, Blake Fisher.
They have a lot of moving parts. I don't know what their 5 will be on opening day.
They also have Ariante Ursery, Trent Brown, Lakin Tomlinson, Ed Ingram.
Yeah.
So they
just want change.
Different guys that they can mix in. But
Tunsil and Mason have been their best guys, and they both got dumped.
Yeah. At 30, the Cleveland Browns.
I might even have them lower. I think they're hanging
lower than 30.
I'd take the Bengals over the Browns.
Dawan Jones, Joel Bitonio, Ethan Posick, Wyatt Teller, Jack Conklin. On paper, that looks better.
It looks okay.
If this were 4 years ago,
then it's top 5.
Yeah,
and that's what makes me crazy about their draft is when you were good is when these guys were good, and you drafted none of them. And they also brought in Tevin Jenkins, who's been a pretty good player now that he's a guard. But both guards, Jenkins and Posick, are all free agents after this year, and Conklin's hanging on for dear life. And you didn't draft one offensive lineman. It makes my brain hurt.
29 is the Cowboys.
I don't disagree with that at all because I think the interior is going to be awesome.
Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe, Tyler Booker, Terrence Steele. I think the tackles are pretty weak, though.
They are, and Guyton is another one of these first-rounders that needs to prove.
I think he was the second highest penalized player in the league. Not just second highest penalized player in the league last year.
And that's worrisome. They signed
Steele. And he missed some games.
They signed Steele to a nice contract, and they should be regretting that.
Yeah.
But the interior could be awesome.
28 is the Seahawks. Charles Cross, Gray Zabel, Timi, Anthony Bradford, and Abraham Lucas.
It's really still Cross and Zabel.
Yeah.
And the other guys are,
27. This might surprise some people. The Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I thought that was a little too low. But there's a lot of moving parts right now.
Well, here's the thing. So it's Jalen Moore, who's a part-time player in San Francisco.
Right. And he's vastly overpaid.
At guard, Kingsley Sumataya.
Who's a tackle that was a failure as a tackle last year.
I don't see him playing guard.
That's the thing. That's why there's so many moving parts.
Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Jawan Taylor.
Right. So
that right
center
side
right guard is great.
Is making a ton of money. Great.
Yeah. Center guard.
Okay, I thought you were saying Jawan Taylor's bad.
He's bad.
He is bad at football.
Now, they had a first-round pick, which that's the big wild card.
Yeah.
Simmons. See, I think the plan is let's piece this together for this year, get rid of Taylor after this year because he's not worth the money.
Yeah.
Can Moore go to right tackle next year and Simmons is your left tackle? But this year's going to be –
You're still short of guard.
Is it Suamatia? Right. Who knows? I mean, right now is a lot of balls in the air.
I don't see him being a guard.
He doesn't play that way.
No. At 26, the Miami Dolphins. That's Patrick Paul, James Daniels, Aaron Brewer, Jonas Ivanea, and Austin Jackson.
That's another one I thought should be lower.
Yeah, it's 26.
I know.
Matt, how much lower can they be?
They lost their best guy, though.
I understand that.
But at least they added 2 guards.
Yeah.
I give them credit for actually realizing their weaknesses.
25 is the Giants. Andrew Thomas, John Runyon, John Michael Schmitz, Greg Van Roten, Jermaine Illuminor.
They have some decent depth pieces, too. I mean, like Neal was a bust, but he's a backup. Mabau. They got to keep Thomas healthy. The other guys are all just average starters.
Yeah. 24 is the Saints. Kelvin Banks, Dylan Raduns, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, Talisi Fuaga. A lot of names there.
McCoy's a good center and has been. Yeah.
Kind of highly drafted guys, but.
I mean, this is a Charger, Steeler. I mean, you go back-to-back tackles, it should pay off. But maybe not in year one.
And even like Raduns and Trevor Penning were both
Penning stinks.
Higher draft picks. They just haven't worked out.
They're not good, right?
Yeah.
But at least Fuaga gets to go the right side now.
Yeah.
So maybe you have a pair of tackles.
Still haven't gotten to the Steelers yet, by the way.
No, we got a little wait yet. 23
is the 49ers. Trent Williams, Bren Barch, Jake Brendel, Dominic Pooney, Colt McKivitz.
Strangely, they didn't add anything. And they lost a few. Not great players.
Yeah.
BB's a real find. Trent Williams is still awesome, but old. A lot of it's just trusting the scheme. I mean, on paper, it's not a very good group.
No. 22 is the Patriots. which would be a huge step forward for
They
them.
might have been 32 last year. Yeah.
Will Campbell, Cole Strange, Garrett Bradbury, Michael Onawanu, and Morgan Moses.
So I think they have 5 real starters now.
Yeah.
And a couple depth pieces of, they drafted the center from Georgia. There's some guys that could turn into something.
21, again, this is a big step forward for them, the Titans.
Massive. They have 5 starters now.
Dan Moore, Pete Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, Kevin Zeitler, J.C. Latham.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
all right.
Yeah. From where they've been, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
You got to overspend a little bit to do it.
20 is Jacksonville. Walker Little, Ezra Cleveland, Robert Hainsey, Patrick McCarry, Anton Harrison.
I think Milam, the WVU kid, will factor in there somewhere. There's no stars in the group, though, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They might be lower on my list, too.
19 is the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Colton Miller, Jordan Meredith, Jackson Powers Johnson, Dylan Parham, DJ Glaze.
DJ Glaze played pretty well as the season went on. Just like project third-round type. And then they drafted 2 project third-round types, pure tackles this year, including Grant from William & Mary. So they're in decent shape.
At 18 are the Commanders. Laramie Tunsil, Brandon Coleman, Tyler Beatis, Sam Cosme, and Josh Connerly Jr.
Which really looks good on paper now. Like that could be 5 real good starters.
Well,
I don't know.
We don't know about Connerly.
That's what I say. But Connerly's never played right. He's not very strong. He kind of he's a left tackle stylistically. I thought he'd be for next year,
At 17 are the Colts. Bernard Raymond, Quentin Nelson, Tanner Bordolini, Matt Goncleves, and Braden Smith.
Center to right tackle is, you lost the starting center and a right guard. Not superstars.
There were people last year, and when I say people, there were organizations, there were publications that had Tanner Bordolini as their center, their best rookie center last year.
Oh, wow. You mean after the season?
Yes.
I mean, he was okay, but that was an awesome center class.
I think they were smoking dope.
I say he's not even the top 3.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like 6, 7 starting centers out of that class.
Yeah, he was fine for what he was.
Right.
But let's not pretend that he was better than some of the other guys.
Frazier's way better.
Yeah. The kid in Tampa was better.
Oh, yeah. The guys that were drafted high.
Yeah.
Right.
16 is the Packers. Rasheed Wallace, or Rasheed Walker, I should say. Rasheed Wallace playing left tackle would be That'd be awesome. He has the right temperament for it. Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, Sean Ryan, Zach Tom. They're moving Jenkins to center?
I think so, because Myers left. I think he retired. I forget what happened to Myers.
Yeah.
But they have a second-round pick waiting in the wings. The big kid out of NC State, Belton.
Anthony Belton.
And last year's first-round pick isn't projected as a starter, which I never understood
Jordan
the pick.
Morgan, yeah.
But at least there's 2 high-upside dudes on the bench.
15 is the Cardinals. Paris Johnson, Evan Brown, Hajay Frohl, Isaiah Adams, and Jonah Williams.
I think Paris Johnson is going to be one of the next great offensive tackles. Like Pro Bowl year after year. Froholt, no one has any clue who he is, but he's good. They're missing a guard.
Yeah.
They're like have 4 good guys.
At 14, still no Steelers, are the Jets. Ola Fashanu, John Simpson, Joe Tipman, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Armand Membo.
It has a lot of Steelers similarities. I mean, there's high picks there. There's youth, back-to-back tackles in the first rounds. Fashanu now gets to go to his natural left spot. Membu was my favorite O-lineman. Tipman's turning into a decent player. They need Vera Tucker to stay healthy. Could be higher.
At 13, we finally get to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. He says some good things about him, too.
Roderick Jones, Isaac Seumalo, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, Troy Falatanu, with the key depth being Spencer Anderson, Calvin Anderson, and Max Sharping.
Now, I would love to add one more key depth piece. I don't know if that's possible. It's not like the receiver conversation where here's 10 names, which one do you like?
Yeah. You see what's starting out there for some teams.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, those guys aren't available, and no one's trading their key depth at the moment. But like you said, I mean, a huge key is what do you get out of Broderick Jones?
Yeah. And as the final note on this group is the group could dominate as soon as 2025 if their young players start to meet their expectations. They just need to stay healthy first.
And he prefaced it by saying McCormick and Frazier have hit expectations, or have been a hit.
At 12 are the Buffalo Bills. Deion Dawkins, David Edwards, Connor McGovern, Osiris Torrance, Spencer Brown.
I love what they've done because they used to be a finesse type O-line. Now they play more 6-0 line sets than anybody. They draft Torrance, who's 340. They're as physical a group as you'll see in the league.
11 is the Ravens.
They'd be lower.
Ronnie Stanley, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him a top 10 tackle or offensive or left tackle, not
I'd say top 12.
Left tackle. I'm talking. I mean,
yeah. Andrew Voorhees, Tyler Linderbaum, Daniel Falele, Roger Rosengarten.
Like I would assume one of those guards gets replaced by a draft pick, but they're not.
I think
super
ideally
high
they'd
picks.
like to replace both of them.
I know. I would say I think it'd settle for one.
Falele started last year because Voorhees was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to give the job to Voorhees coming in training camp, and he couldn't win it.
And they lost Macari, who was their glue guy, fill in the blank type dude. Rosengarten's better than I thought he'd be. I wasn't a fan coming out, but Linderbaum's good. You know, I mean, he's their best player, I think. But the guards are well below average.
Yeah. 10 are the Bears: Braxton Jones, Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson, Darnell Wright.
I don't have a problem with that at all either, except for so much change. Maybe week 1 doesn't look as good as you think.
Might not look.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a lot of things moving around. And then they drafted Trapillo, too.
9 are the Panthers: Ike Mekawanu, Damian Lewis, Austin Corbett, Robert Hunt, Taylor Moton.
I've been really hard on that organization, but to their credit, not this offseason, the offseason before, with a really small, short quarterback, they spent a fortune on 2 guards, and they got their money's worth. Yeah. You know, I mean, like
there's a reason why they were able to run the ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
It didn't matter what was going on at quarterback. It
was their
didn't
best
matter
position
who the backs
last
were.
year, without question. Right, Chuba Hubbard's just a guy, but he's running for a lot of yards.
I think Taylor Moton's one of the more underrated
that's a good call.
guys in the league.
Ickey's getting a little better and a little better, and
Moton's good.
Moton's good, yeah.
8 is the Atlanta Falcons: Jake Matthews, Matthew Bergeron, Ryan Newsill, Chris Lindstrom, Caleb McGarry.
What scares me is I know nothing about Newsill.
I mean,
like they didn't do anything at center, even though they lost Dahlman. And the other guys are good, but they've kind of been there a long time. And
other than Bergeron,
did they ever really hit their stride? It's okay. I mean, it's about properly ranked.
7 are the Chargers: Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson, Bradley Bozeman, Mekhi Becton, Joe Alt.
Interior isn't as strong as you think. I was doing a podcast today breaking down their draft, and I was shocked they didn't draft any interior linemen.
Yeah.
Becton's a big investment. Will he be the same without Jeff Stoutland? It's worth the risk.
They have Andre James and Jamari Saylor and Trey Pipkins.
They had James.
Yeah, so they got
more than I thought then.
They got some bench players
Their
there.
tackles could be as good as any pair in the league.
6 is the Rams: Alaric Jackson, Steve Avila, Bo Limmer, Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein.
Limmer's another one of those centers that from last year that did enough that they're ready to start him. That might be a little high.
6 is pretty rich.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
At 5 are the Vikings: Christian Darrisaw, Donovan Jackson, Ryan Kelly, Will Freeze, and Brian O'Neill.
It's funny, like 2 teams in that division and several teams across the league just revamped the interior of their line. 3 new starters from guard to guard.
Yeah.
The tackles were great, but Darrisaw's coming off an injury.
4, surprisingly, is the Lions.
Wow, it's pretty low.
Yeah. Taylor Decker, Christian Mahogany, Frank Ragnow, Tate Ratledge, and Penei Sewell.
I think the guards are not set in stone.
Yeah, they
drafted
Graham Glasgow was
2.
there, Dan Skipper, Miles Frazier.
Yeah, they drafted a bunch. I think that needs to work itself out. Zeitler's gone. But the tackles, Sewell's probably as good a player as there is in the league. Yeah. Ragnow's still a star.
Decker's solid.
Yeah.
3 is Tampa Bay: Tristan Wirfs, Ben Bredesen, Graham Barton, Cody Mock, and Luke Getke.
Yeah, and to Wirfs' credit, I mean, what a stud he is. He goes from right tackle to left tackle last year. Doesn't miss a beat. That allows Getke to be a right tackle because he's a right tackle only. So they kind of got everyone in the right spots. And as you mentioned earlier, Barton's really good.
2 is Denver: Garrett Bowles, Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg, Quinn Miners, Mike McGlinchey.
I knew nothing about Waterberg before.
I think the left side of that is
okay.
Yeah,
well, we've
Garrett
said for
Bowles
years
is overrated. And
yeah,
Ben Powers is just a guy.
He's just a guy, right? Quinn Miners is one of the best guards in the league.
McGlinchey's solid,
especially in the run game.
Yeah,
but number 2, I'd probably take the Lions or a couple of these other ones we brought up. Right.
That leaves 1, Philadelphia: Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and Lane Johnson.
Who's the depth for them? I think that got hit a little bit.
Kenyon Green, Kendall Lamb, Matt Pryor, Drew Kendall, and Cameron Williams.
Yeah, okay. The depth isn't as good as it usually is, but they did take 3 draft picks kind of late that one of them I bet hits. That just develop them with Stoutland University, as they call it, 6th, 7th round O lineman with ability. They would be number 1, but they might be 95% of last year. Becton's gone. Lane Johnson's not young.
I always worry about guys, too, that have back issues.
Oh, I think it's
like Juergens did.
Is that what Juergens has a back?
Yeah.
I don't love that.
Yeah.
They just signed him to big money,
especially
too.
for a center.
You put a lot of stress on your back. You got to block Casey Hampton,
you got to
too.
snap up.
Yeah. They gave him a huge contract, which I kind of get, but I don't think he's like the next Kelsey.
No.
I mean, he's not a top 5 center.
No, I don't believe
He's a good player,
so either.
but
yeah. But Steelers coming in on that probably a lot higher than a lot of our listeners would have thought.
Oh, I would imagine. That was worth the exercise just there. I mean, you start naming all the names, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners don't know a lot of these guards and centers that we're talking about, of course, but that's why you listen, I mean, and this is a pretty solid list.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't put this together.
No. And I do think the Steelers' ceiling offensive line-wise is pretty high.
It could be top 10 by next year.
Yeah. If everybody's healthy and improving, you could be in good shape.
It should be top. To be quite frank, it should be top 10 next year when you've used 2 first-round draft picks, a 2nd-round pick, a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, you've used a lot of resources on the offensive line in the last 2 years.
I could also see a path, unfortunately, where what if Tanu can't stay healthy for some reason and Siamalu gets old and all of a sudden, everyone on there.
That's every team on here.
Right. But so there's some volatility with it because they're young, but I think their upside's high.
Yeah. Let's get to another break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and the Steelers have made a couple of, a few roster moves here, signing 3 guys out of their rookie tryout camp over the weekend. Running backs Max Hurlman and Trey Sermon.
Trey Sermon's a brand name guy. Yeah.
And offensive tackle Gareth Warren, and they released running back Aaron Shamplin.
Okay. I can't comment much on the other 2, but Sermon, I liked coming out of Ohio State, really started his career slow. I don't know if he has any special teams history because, like a Benny Snell, I would hope for his case he does now because he didn't really in his rookie year. He kind of was profiled as a feature.
I think he's been used as a kick returner.
I don't know. Yeah, but I hope he can tackle and run down for his sake, because otherwise he's going to be in a tough situation. But so worth the risk. I mean, what was he, a 3rd or 4th round pick out of Ohio State? Productive guy.
Yeah,
He's got traits, big physical dude, zone runner. It kind of has some Caleb Johnson look about him.
Yeah, he's 134 carries for 505 yards in his career, 3 touchdowns.
Who knows? Right.
Hurlman is he started his career at Colgate, went to Notre Dame, then returns punts.
Okay.
Has also played a lot on special teams, does those kind of things.
Good.
So, and then Warren played at Lindenwood, the Ohio Valley Conference team, and they, it is what it is. You're taking a shot on a
If he has
young
traits,
offensive tackle.
Right. I mean, say if he's a tackle with traits, great. He must have done something in camp to impress. He must have done something to get to camp that was impressive. Develop them. I mean, if any of those dudes end up being practice squatters, that's great.
Yeah.
We're not looking for them to get the ball 20 times a game or be your next answer at starting left tackle. But if you get a practice squad guy that is useful, great.
That's what you're looking for.
That's all you're really doing. Right.
So that was what they added after this rookie mini camp.
Which means you're just coming to Latrobe.
Yeah, that just means you get. Well, that doesn't even guarantee.
I get it. It's not a guaranteed deal either, right?
You're gonna get through OTAs. You'll probably go to mini camp, and then they'll decide.
Shampkin thought he was going to Latrobe.
Yes,
someone's got to go. Right?
Somebody's got to go.
Yeah, it's tough, and you're probably going to sign a quarterback. You might add a wide receiver, and so I think so many roster spots.
Well, they didn't sign the quarterback that they had in the rookie.
Well, I was talking about a veteran that's
Well, I'm just saying, so
right,
as we sit here, they still only have 3 on the roster.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I see what you're saying. So there's still a spot sitting there.
Wink,
and
wink.
they're going to take 4.
Yeah.
You can't, folks.
They will take 4.
Yes.
They will have 4 on the roster.
That's a fact.
And one of them will not be either one of us.
No, it sounds like it won't be Derek Carr either.
Will not be Derek Carr. But
I'm not sure I 100% believe he's retired, by the way.
Yeah, I think he could be talked out
I
of it.
bet he could be talked out.
Price was right.
After June 1st, I bet he could get talked out of it.
Yeah. That's a situation where he's like,
You're right. Unless his shoulder's shot, which maybe it is. But that whole situation I always thought was a little weird.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
So that's what they did. They're always tweaking the roster, you know.
Yeah.
Not earth-shattering moves.
One of the local radio personalities went on social media this weekend and reported that hot rumor in Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers has joined has applied for membership at Nevillewood Country Club.
Yeah.
All you had to do is pick up the phone.
Is that possible? If I'm a Nevillewood?
First of all, it's not true.
Well, I say I don't think
it wasn't true. It's never been true. He didn't do that. No.
Yeah, I mean, it's third-hand information, but I read on a tweet today that Jerry went on the air and said that didn't happen. And if I trust anyone with the combination of golf and inside Steelers knowledge, it's Jerry Dulac. More than anyone in the city.
It just boggles my mind, the dealing in rumors and just throwing stuff out there onto social media just to get interaction, and I can't live in that world.
Right. I mean, I'm sure that Aaron Rodgers, if he becomes a Steeler, can find golf courses.
He could golf anywhere. Nevillewood would invite him. He doesn't even have to join. Nevillewood, I'm sure, would say, "Hey, Aaron, you want to come play?"
Or I'm sure he has a friend that'll take him, or go to other country clubs. Right.
Come on,
who knows?
It's no different than the people who always post the same photo of the guy at the counter in the airport.
He's in town.
Seen it this air. I've seen it Boston Airport, Pittsburgh Airport. It's the same guy. Like, all right,
he's in town.
Semi-humorous.
Right.
This is just garbage. Like, and I get it. The person couched it as a hot rumor in Pittsburgh. Well, if it's a hot rumor in Pittsburgh, you're somebody who's supposed to have contacts in the business. If it were me and I heard said hot rumor and was going to put it onto social media, I would at least call Nevillewood.
Would they tell you?
I don't know if they would or not, but I would at least call Nevillewood.
Yeah.
Or I'd find somebody who was a member at Nevillewood. I wouldn't just run with it.
Right. I mean, it sounds great.
That's horse crap.
Right. Maybe he called them and said, I mean, maybe there was a contact. Rodgers reached out to a country. What's the best country club to go to?
You lose all credibility if you ever had any. You lose all credibility with anybody by throwing out stuff like that on. And even though you said, it was a rumor, you still lose all credibility.
I like how you define rumors versus news, too. You know, like a rumor is just
rumors
in
are
the stratosphere, right?
I can roll through the YouTube pages on here and see 25 to 30 different shows dealing in rumors.
Right.
That doesn't make it a report. That doesn't make it's just garbage.
Yeah.
The stuff that comes out this time of year is mostly garbage.
Right. So I'm never on the other end of this, but I told you the other day that the Bears fans came at me so hard because I retweeted the Pickens Schefter trade and just wrote 10 wide receiver names. Steelers, question mark.
Could be available.
DJ Moore was one of them. And somebody who I know has been in the business a long time in the Chicago media is like, this is crazy. There's no chance. I'm like, I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's not a rumor. I'm not creating a rumor. I'm just throwing out the name.
Yeah.
But Chicago fans lost their mind. You're an idiot. You're blah, 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 which is fine. I don't, that honestly doesn't even bother me that much. I mean, it's just a name to throw out there as a potential thing the day the trade happened.
Yeah.
Are these Bears fans closer to the Bears than me? Not fans, but people do what we do. Of course they are. But I don't regret putting it out there. I mean, like, that's not DJ Moore was at the Steelers facility or at the airport or applying to Nevillewood.
Yeah, joining the Nevillewood country.
Right, I'm just saying these are names that they should consider.
I just, when you're reading stuff like that, folks, my bottom line is consider the source. Has the source ever been right about anything?
Right. What percentage of news they break?
What percentage of it, if it's
True.
If 90%, and nobody's going to bat 1,000.
Of course.
It just doesn't happen. You're going to put stuff out there you're going to like that you hear, and sometimes, but you better at least hit 50-50.
You better get it once in a while. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if
you can't be consistently wrong about everything.
Right. Like I've never broke news in my life, but I'd have to be pretty sure to break news to say this is going to happen.
Well, and that's the difference now between some of these fly-by-night websites and things of that nature that put stuff out there.
Right. Everyone has a voice.
Actual reporters.
Right.
Like an actual reporter will be, they'll have it nailed down. Like now, it may still not work out, but you're not just throwing crap against the wall and hoping it happens. You heard something from somebody, a credible source.
The Ayuk trade, the Kirk trade, or this is who they liked in the draft, didn't go that way. That kind of thing. Doesn't mean it happens, but it was close, or it was on the horizon, or whatever. You know,
not a friend of a friend of a friend told me this. No.
So the bottom line is my opinion of Aaron Rodgers or chances of Aaron Rodgers becoming a Steeler has not changed one
iota.
And I'm still pretty confident it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But no one's asking my opinion on the matter.
They are not.
Right.
Nor is Neville Wood asking us to join.
No. I'd have to be a guest.
Let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. It's the start of hour number 2 here. And Matt, today, Pro Football Focus came out with their rankings for Superflex League.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I didn't see it.
And for those who don't know what a Superflex fantasy league is, you can start 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You get the flex spot. You don't have to start 2 quarterbacks.
But you're crazy not to. You know, I mean.
Even the worst quarterback, the 32nd starter in the league, is probably still a better start in your flex spot than unless you're just completely stacked.
Right. And there's certainly times that Superflex are better than 2 quarterback leagues because sometimes you can't start that second one.
Injuries happen.
Injuries, you know. You get a little, so, okay, I'm just going to start a running back this week. But really, 8 or 9 out of 10 weeks, you're starting 2 quarterbacks in those leagues.
Yeah.
So there's one spot and another flex that can be quarterback relevant. So, like, for example, I mean, some of these dynasty leagues I'm in have pretty big rosters. But, like, I own Derek Carr in my Superflex league. I didn't cut him. Yeah, I mean, like, he was untradeable for a while, but I mean, I have Tyrod Taylor in that league. I have Kenny Pickett in that league. I mean, like, I have 7 or 8 quarterbacks. Just if Joe Flacco's on the waiver wire, I put in a big number in him because I might need to start him 1 week. You know.
So their number 1 overall guy in the Superflex going into the season, Jaden Daniels.
Huh. I mean, we've talked through quarterback ranks. They don't change. I mean, it's kind of like a vertical versus horizontal board situation.
I don't understand. This being a super flex would not put Jaden Daniels ahead of Josh Allen for me.
Me either.
Or
That's
Lamar
what I was
Jackson.
say. I mean, he still probably is my 3rd quarterback.
Yeah.
Just a little uncertainty in year 2, and, you know, we'll see.
He hasn't done it as long as the other 2 guys.
Right. I think Allen's just a monster.
Allen's number 2. Lamar's number 3. 4 is Jalen Hurts. 5 is Joe Burrow.
It's always interesting when the line of demarcation starts of when do I take Saquon or Chase or a non-quarterback.
That's after 5.
Where would you be on that? I mean, I don't have
it's
a lot
long wait till we get down to QB7, and I don't know that it should be.
See, I don't have a ton of Superflex experience. I only have that 1 Dynasty league. But I do know, especially in Dynasty, I mean, I traded Justin Herbert and got a ton for him. And he's not even that good a fantasy quarterback. But you know he's going to be a 10-year starter. You know, like I got multiple first-round picks, Garrett Wilson. I got all kinds of stuff for him. And if you see like a startup, the first 2 rounds are just littered with starting quarterbacks. I mean, the Mahomeses of the world are super high picks. But in redraft, I don't know that I'm going to go that crazy. I mean, it's great when your first 2 picks can be quarterbacks and you're done there. But you're pretty weak other spots.
It depends on how many teams in the league, too. Is it 12? Is it 16? Is it 14?
Right.
But Chase is 6, Bijan Robinson 7, Jahmyr Gibbs 8.
Both ahead of Barkley.
Justin Jefferson 9. Brian Thomas 10.
I'm going to take Brian Thomas over Barkley.
Barkley 11.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes, 12.
I think he's going to have a big year. He's got I don't know which receivers I want of his, but I think he's going to throw more than he has.
So that's your first round.
Okay. I'd be pretty happy to get Mahomes at 12.
Puka Nacua is 13. Nico Collins, 14.
We talked about this in the receiver show that I think Puka's a little high.
CeeDee Lamb, 15.
Yeah, I'm taking Lamb over Nacua times 1,000.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, 16.
I wonder if they moved Lamb down post Pickens trade. Maybe a little.
Maybe a little. Yeah, like I said, these just came out today. Ashton Genty at 17. Malik Neighbors at 18.
None of that's too crazy to me.
Baker Mayfield at 19, QB7.
I think he was their QB7 when we talked through this a week or so ago.
QB8 for them at 20 is Bo Nix. I can't go there.
Yeah, I think that's a little rich. I mean, he does run a fair amount. They throw a lot of easy completions to backs. I'm going to have a hard time. I'm not sure if Baker would be my 7 either. He throws touchdowns.
There's touchdowns and he does run.
Mm-hmm.
21 is Bucky Irving, RB5.
Okay.
22 is Brock Purdy as QB9.
Yeah, that's the neighborhood of quarterbacks I don't love, for Superflex or whatever.
23 is Kyler Murray.
I mean, this is just a different, for people who haven't played Superflex, hypothetical, you get the 7th pick in a 12-team league draft. You take Barkley or Chase at 7. Now you're taking Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you almost have to. Or,
right.
You're in trouble.
24 is Brock Bowers, tight end 1.
Okay.
25 is Justin Fields at QB 11.
Like, I'm taking Fields over Purdy.
Yeah. 26 is Justin Herbert at QB 12.
Not bad.
27 is Caleb Williams at QB 13.
That neighborhood's a little rough, too.
28, Christian McCaffrey.
I'd probably buy him before that.
29 is Jordan Love.
Solid, doesn't run as much as you think.
That's QB 14. That's 14 of the top 29 picks, quarterbacks.
Because the Cam Wards and those guys are valuable too, as long as you know they're going to start every week. What you don't want is it Shucker Rattler.
You don't want to. What you don't want to be. Let's just say you're in a 12-team league.
Mm-hmm.
There's 32 starters.
Right. That's why like a 16.
Some of them are you're gonna have bye weeks.
Yeah, and definitely gonna be injuries.
There's gonna be some teams that don't have 3 starting quarterbacks.
Right. Oh, there absolutely will be. I mean, we know that.
Yeah.
And handcuffing's important.
Right.
It sounds like a stupid example, but like I have Tyrod Taylor in that big league, and I've been trying to sell him to the Justin Fields owner for something. Just give me a 3rd-round pick or whatever. He doesn't. His other quarterbacks happen to be really good, so he doesn't care if Fields gets hurt that badly. But, like that, if you have Fields, Tyrod Taylor's valuable.
30 is Trey McBride, tight end 2.
Yeah.
31 is Drake London, wide receiver 9.
Wow. There's so many receivers that they will get pushed down.
Like if I went quarterback, and then Drake London was my top receiver.
Skill position player.
I'm okay with that.
I'd say that's not bad. I mean, him being receiver 9 sounds rich, but him at 30, whatever, seems like a value.
31 is absolute value.
He's way better at his job than Brock Purdy is.
Yeah.
For fantasy.
32 is A.J. Brown, wide receiver 10.
Again, this is where you start getting values at the positions that have depth.
33 is Devin Achane. That's RB7.
Wow. I mean, that's a home run there.
Yeah. I'm never in on taking Devin Achane at 12 or in the first round. If I can take him at 33, huge difference.
I already have a quarterback and something else, or 2 quarterbacks, and right, especially if it's PPR.
34 is Jared Goff. That's QB 15.
That's a real solid quarterback too.
Yeah.
That you start every week.
35 is Derrick Henry, RB8.
Wow. That's pretty nice.
36 is Josh Jacobs as RB9.
I mean, you're getting those guys at the end of the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And they could be RB1.
37 is Drake May at QB 16.
Should be. I mean, 0 chance to get benched,
38, Lab McConkey. 39 is T. Higgins, wide receiver 12. I have less of a problem taking T. Higgins at 39 than I did when we did the rankings last week, and he's still wide receiver 12 here, which is still a little rich for me. But
they had him going like mid-2nd round in a normal
Yeah,
format.
now he's the last pick of the third round.
Right. Maybe your first pick of the fourth type guy.
40 is Dak Prescott.
It's not a bad value that late.
Yeah.
You know he's going to start as long as he stays healthy.
41, C.J. Stroud.
Again.
That's QB 18.
Yeah. I remember
18 of your top 41 now, quarterbacks.
Knowing this, again, this is just off the top of my head, I wouldn't mind going like running back, receiver, quarterback here. You know, if I can get Stroud, Lawrence,
if I could get Jordan Love and Dak Prescott.
Right.
All right.
Maybe I don't have Allen, which should be the first pick in the draft. I get that. But I got two dudes that are going to start every week that have no chance of getting benched that are good football players.
And I got stud players.
And I got one of the best, probably the best receiver running back combination going, or something like that.
42 is Jonathan Taylor.
It's hard to grab a tight end early.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a leap.
Jonathan Taylor at 42. Kyron Williams at 43. That's RB 10 and 11.
Again, you're getting those guys in the fourth round.
44 is Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay. Handcuff them,
45 is Kenneth Walker.
Heads up.
46, Garrett Wilson. 47, George Kittle.
That's tight end 3, right?
That's tight end 3.
Mm-hmm.
48, Tyreek Hill.
Are you in or not at that? I mean, Superflex aside, are you in? What receiver is that? Like 15-ish?
He's 14.
Think that's where he belongs?
Probably.
He could explode.
He could.
Yeah.
He could explode either way.
Right, I say it could be real bad.
He could explode or he could explode.
Right. Both are bad,
49, Terry McLaurin. Much safer.
Much safer. But in most leagues, Superflex aside, it's probably your receiver 2.
Yeah. 50 is Joe Mixon. That's RB 13.
Doesn't look like a lot of challenge for workload at the moment.
51 is James Cook.
Now we're in that stretch where no quarterbacks are going here for a little bit.
Nah. 52 is Trevor Lawrence.
I say Lawrence should be in the 2 neighborhood.
That's QB
right.
20.
Okay.
53, Chase Brown. 54, Breece Hall, RB 16.
Pretty cheap for him.
55, Omari and Hampton. That's RB 17.
I don't know where to take him in redraft.
56 is Quinshon Judkins. That is RB 18. 57, wide receiver 16 is Devontae Adams.
Oh, I'm all over that. McVay, Stafford, Adams.
Yeah.
I mean, what Rodgers doing? I mean, veteran quarterback's going to love that guy.
58 is James Conner.
He had a really good year.
59, Jackson Smith and Jigba.
It's pretty cheap for him, too.
That's wide receiver 17.
You're getting these guys.
The wide receivers aren't going off as quickly as you thought.
It's a lot different.
60 is DJ Moore.
Yeah, all these guys are highly startable, and you're getting them like 6th round, right?
Yeah. Mike Evans at 61.
Oh.
Chuba Hubbard at 62.
Okay.
That's RB 20. 63 is Rashee Rice. That's wide receiver 20.
He would be my first chief receiver.
Alvin Kamara at 64. Marvin Harrison Jr. at 65.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith at 66. Tet McMillan at 67.
Take him over Hunter in redraft? Probably gets more targets over the course of the year.
He's the only game in town.
Mm-hmm.
68, Xavier Worthy.
Big stretch of receivers here.
69, Zay Flowers. 70 is Sam Laporta. That's tight end 4.
They fall.
71, Cortland Sutton. That's wide receiver 26. Travis Hunter at 72, wide receiver 27.
There's a big stretch here. We haven't talked about a quarterback.
Yeah. 73 is Jalen Waddle.
I'm buying all these guys at that price in Superflex.
74 is David Montgomery, RB 22. There's a little stretch here of no running backs. Tony Pollard at 75.
I'm not sure what to do with him.
Jordan Addison at 76. DeAndre Swift at 77. We still haven't gotten a Steeler on here, by the way.
True.
Brandon Ayuk at 78.
You got to know
He's
about the injury.
not going to play until like late October.
Yeah. Unless more news comes out. That's rough.
DK Metcalf, wide receiver 31 at 79.
And we talked about him being, in our view, closer to 24-ish, something like that. That seems low.
Chris Olave at wide receiver 32 at 80.
I don't mind receiver shopping in this neighborhood at all.
Jamison Williams at 81, wide receiver 33.
There's been a long time since we talked about quarterback.
TJ Hawkinson, tight end 5 is 82. Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver 34 is at 83. Deebo Samuel, wide receiver 35 at 84. 85 is Aaron Jones, RB 25. You got Chris Godwin at 86. Wide receiver 36. RJ Harvey is RB 26 at 87. Isaiah Pacheco at 88.
He worries me.
Jaylen Warren at 89. Wide receiver,
you have him
running
over
back,
Johnson?
running back 28.
It's close.
Yeah.
If it's PPR, yes.
Jacoby Myers at 90. That's wide receiver 37. George Pickens at 91. Wide receiver 38.
Probably fair.
Jonnu Smith, tight end 6 at 92.
As much as I was on him last year, I don't know if I'm paying that price for him.
Colston Loveland at 93. Tight end 7. Still haven't gotten another quarterback yet. Cooper Kupp at 94. Juan Jennings at 95. I think he should be higher.
Yeah.
Matthew Golden at 96, wide receiver 41.
Get it.
Brian Robinson at 97. Rome Odunze at 98. That's wide receiver 42. We went from having like 8 wide receivers in the top 40 to now we got 42 wide receivers in the top 98. Calvin Ridley at 99.
And some of these Superflex leagues won't have another flex either. Sometimes it's 2 running backs, 2 receiver, and a Superflex spot.
Yeah.
Some do. Some have both.
We finally get to quarterback 21 at 100.
I'm curious who this is.
J.J. McCarthy.
Okay, so we're getting into the I know he's going to be a starter, Cam Ward neighborhood probably.
Yeah. Next quarterback is at 104. Quarterback 22 is Matthew Stafford.
Okay. Like I would think Rodgers will be in that neighborhood. Wilson.
Yeah. Penix is at 107. Cam Ward is at 109.
I wouldn't. Is that crazy to have one of those as your QB2 in Superflex? If you could wait that late, or maybe take 2 of them. Give me.
I'd rather they be my third quarterback.
Well, absolutely. I mean,
especially after I've filled the roster out in those middle rounds.
Right. I mean, that's why I think they're going there. But if it's a 12-team league, someone doesn't have a QB2 yet. Like if you went, I'm just thinking of how I want a team build. If I take not one of the top 5, but I end up with Mahomes, it's the middle of the second round, and then McCarthy and Rodgers, something like that. You'd be stacked everywhere else. Is my point,
right?
But that's a little. I mean, that's the world you live in.
Anthony Richardson is QB 25. Yeah. Caleb Johnson.
If I could have Richardson and Jones, and I just stream them week to week.
Yeah, but I never know which game Richardson's going to tap out on me. Caleb Johnson comes in at 114 as RB 37, by the way. So,
okay.
Tyler Shuck even comes in here.
Oh yeah,
QB 29.
You're drafting Rattler. You're drafting Shuck. You might draft Rudolph.
Russell Wilson's QB 30. Aaron Rodgers QB 31 at 126.
Yeah, those guys all get drafted.
Kenny Pickett is QB 32.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. Just a different way to look at things.
It's where to take them. I mean, obviously the quarterback rank shouldn't change.
I mean, if you have I would have a tough decision if I were picking 6th in this particular draft.
Because the 5 good ones.
Daniels, Allen, Jackson, Hurts, and Burrow went ahead of me. Do you take Mahomes or do you take Chase or Barkley? Or
are you definitely taking Burrow or Hurts over first position player? It's kind of a bird in the hand.
My only problem with taking Burrow in that top 5, his injury history is real.
Oh, yeah.
And we just went through the offensive line rankings in the previous hour. They're not good.
Right. That's not a strength for sure.
Whereas I know, like Mahomes he's going to play through whatever.
Right. Allen.
Yeah, those guys are going to play.
Yeah. Burrow's had some stuff.
Yeah. And if that's your top 5 pick and he has another one of those seasons, you're shot. You're done.
If you're sitting there at 5, would you prefer Burrow or Chase? I mean, I bring it up because they're the same team.
Right.
And if Burrow gets hurt, it hurts Chase too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dicey.
It is dicey. I don't know. It's hard to weigh that stuff. Like I said, I mean, I just made a Superflex trade because my rookie pick, Cam Ward, I was picking 5th, and Cam Ward lasted all the way to 5, which he shouldn't.
Right.
I mean, he should go ahead of, I think Judkins went ahead of him. And that's when I was like, whoa. So I'm just going to take him. So I shopped Herbert and got a ton for him. But I also thought, I have Carr on this roster. Maybe he'll be valuable. He's not all of a sudden. Now I'm a little light at quarterback, So it's when in doubt, take the extra quarterback in Superflex for sure. Like you want 4 that might play, 3 that are starters if you're optimal, and like Daniel Jones or Winston.
And if you have 4 or even 5 of them, you can shop those guys in.
They're gold.
And get something.
Somebody's short.
Yeah.
If you have a lot, 2 teams are short.
Yeah.
Anyways,
let's get to a break. That's going to do it for the fantasy football focus for today. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. This is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. And of course, you can hear the show every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. right here on these very airwaves. You can also download the Steelers mobile app, get the show there, or you can watch on the YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up there, leave your comments, and sometimes we'll check those out. Right now, I went all weekend without dealing with the comments because
I've gone weeks.
There was just some. Here's the thing.
I respect people. I mean, I don't mean to be a total ass, but I mean, I don't need to be told how dumb I am all the time.
I try to go on there.
I get that enough from my kids,
and answer people's questions.
Yeah, which is great. I love the interaction.
I like the interaction. People can give us suggestions on things you might want to talk about, all kinds of stuff, and I defy people to go somewhere else where they have access. And I'm not pumping our own tires here. To somebody who's covered the team and has as long as I have, and a guy who's been a professional scout and does what we do, I guarantee you the people are not going into the comments to respond to your questions on there. Sure. And yet, people get angry when I go on there and defend something that was either misconstrued or somebody is just completely realigning what we said about something.
Those are the things that bother me is we have to talk a lot.
Yes.
So a lot of things fall out of my mouth.
10 hours a week.
Right. A lot of things fall out of my mouth. And I could understand how something gets misconstrued or maybe I didn't say it the way I wanted to. But I do dislike you have no clue what you're talking about. Here's one snippet or one sentence you said over the course of the week that doesn't align with the way people see things, or maybe I just didn't say it right. You know what I mean? Like you can cut and paste. I remember I only heard the one thing you said and not the whole explanation for why I said it, or those kind of things. That's the kind of stuff that bothers me. You know, like or the worst part, and it's rampant right now, and I understand Steeler Nation's a little sore for how the season ends, but doesn't matter what they do, this team will never win, blah, 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 blah. That stuff makes me bonkers. Like, go be a Cardinals fan. You know what I mean? Like, why are you a fan of the team then? Why aren't you listening to Lions Nation radio?
And as I've told multiple people on there, if the show is that offensive to you, why are you listening? Why are you watching?
Mm-hmm.
We must be doing something right here that you've gone through this and
right
gone through the effort to comment on the show.
Maybe you don't like the fantasy segment. Cool.
That's fine. It's not for everybody.
Right.
The great thing about the YouTube channel, you can just jump ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I've told this a million times. I subscribe to so many podcasts, and most of them I don't get to. But there's also some that, well, the Thursday guest every week is great. That's the only reason I'm subscribing. So I don't listen to the other 4 weeks, or other 4 days, or whatever. You got to handpick. There's only so many hours in the day. So I don't know. If you don't like it, don't listen. And hey, I don't mind constructive criticism, or I totally disagree with what you said, or think about this receiver. You didn't bring him up. Great.
Okay. Fine. Great.
Fine.
Yeah.
And sometimes I say dumb stuff, and when I do say you said dumb stuff, I'm cool with that.
When you talk as much as we do.
Right.
And sometimes
there's no edit button like on an article, or you don't get to proofread it.
Believe it or not, our opinions on things, what our opinion was on something 4 months ago,
right,
might not be my opinion on something today.
That's another part that bothers me too.
Things change, things evolve.
Right. Like my other podcast, Peacock and Williamson. Peacock is a Niners guy. I'm a Steelers guy, but that's not what we're a national show. And boy, do I hear about it a lot. But the summer after their rookie year, we would go back and forth. Would you rather have Purdy or would you rather have Pickett? I'd rather have Pickett then. He was a first-round pick. I liked him a lot more coming out. Now, I hear about it all the time. I'd rather have Purdy now. I was wrong. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not still on that train. More information comes out.
Right.
And after their rookie seasons, I said I'd still rather have Pickett. Okay, I don't regret that.
At that point,
I don't have a crystal ball.
Purdy had played like 6 games.
He played 6 games, and they were good, and he was Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
That was the context at the time. One of the guy was a first-round pick that showed flashes in his rookie year, but wasn't great.
Yeah.
I'd take Dan Marino over both of them. But that's just our world, I'm used to it.
And
right.
The people that leave the kind comments on it, we appreciate our listeners.
And I get a ton of those in all my walks of life,
Yeah.
and thank you. Those are awesome.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. And that's one of the big reasons why we do the show and why it has been so successful is because a lot of people actually do like the show, and we appreciate that. And
yeah, spread the word, hit subscribe, all those good things.
So today, Matt, Field Yates came up with ranking of 2025 NFL rookie impact for non-first round draft picks.
Okay, I saw this, but I didn't go through it.
He came up with 10 offensive and 10 defensive non-first rounders who could make a big impact.
They could make an impact, okay.
Number 1 on there is Tyler Shuck with the Saints.
I'm betting he's a starter.
He's going to be the starter.
Yeah, right. Don't draft someone at that age in that situation, probably not the start.
Rattler was bad last year.
Yeah. I bet it'll be a camp competition.
Be a competition,
right.
yeah. Number 2 on there is R.J. Harvey with Denver.
He has very little competition.
3 is Jonas Ivania.
Again, not much competition at guard. They traded up for him. Yeah.
37th pick. 4 is Quinshaw Judkins with the Browns.
He'll be their lead guy.
Yeah.
Early round running backs are a pretty easy cheat code on this.
Travion Henderson is 5.
Do you think he leads that team in rushing?
No.
I don't either. I think he'll be useful and make an impact.
I think he'll lead their running backs in receptions.
I think he'll have the most yardage from scrimmage, but I bet Stevenson still has the most.
Stevenson's not going away. They just gave him money.
Right.
6 is Caleb Johnson.
Sure. I think he'll be 1A.
There are 299 touches that they need to replace in that backfield.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if Cordero Patterson isn't released.
Then it goes up.
Right.
And Gainwell might just take those plus.
Yeah.
Maybe Gainwell gets 100 touches total. Most.
Maybe.
I'll take the under.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think Johnson gets 250 plus.
Yeah. I bet he catches more balls as a Steeler than a Hawkeye, too. Not a ton.
I think he was their leading receiver last year.
I thought he only had I was to say he only had not that many catches, but they don't throw the ball.
They don't throw the ball.
Right. They don't have any receivers.
7 is Mason Taylor with tight end with the Jets.
I would think he's a plug-and-play starter.
You think, yeah. 8 is Tate Ratledge, guard with the Lions.
So I
just went through the offensive line rankings. He was one of their starters.
I hope there's a lineman on here.
Well, there was. Jonas Ivania.
Oh, Ivania was too.
Yeah.
Okay.
9 is Jaden Higgins with the Texans.
Yeah, but he's got competition.
He does.
Is he going to beat out Kirk and Knoll? Maybe. They're going to play with 3 receivers a lot, but it's 4 good ones.
10 is Dylan Fairchild with the Bengals.
We talked about their line was last. There's not much in front of them.
4 more to watch. Gunnar Helm with the Titans. I don't see that.
I'm not a fan of him to begin with. I thought he was overdrafted. Chig's definitely ahead of him. I would think there's some blocking tight end that's going to be in the mix more than Helm.
Jalen Lane, wide receiver with the Commanders.
Could be number 3. He's probably battling McCaffrey. I know Fields looking for long shots here, but
this is a long shot. Robbie Oates with the Seahawks, a fullback.
He's probably the only fullback on the roster.
And Brashard Smith, running back with the Chiefs, pick number 228.
I told you we were talking about AFC West today. He may end up being their best back.
He might be.
I don't think he's great, but he's a 7th-round pick, and there's the guys ahead of him aren't all that special.
He's just tiny.
He is little, right.
Fast, though. Defensive players.
This one's more interesting to me. It's easy just to pick running backs around 2 and 3.
Well, the first one is the first overall pick of the 2nd round, Carson Schlesinger.
Low-hanging fruit here,
Yeah.
Fields, right. Field.
2 is Nick Emuwari, safety with the Seahawks. He's the 35th pick in the draft.
Right. Yeah. He's going to play.
3 is Will Johnson with the
If healthy,
Cardinals.
yeah.
4, Demetrius Knight with the Bengals.
Yes, but I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. That's part of the reason why I didn't love their draft is I thought he was a 4th-round player that they took in the
I had
second.
him as like my 5th best inside linebacker.
I think he was
this
my
year.
4th, and I
In
didn't
a
like
bad
anyone
group,
after
yeah.
2. Right. No, they were all bad after that. I thought he was vastly overdrafted.
5 is Nick Martin with the 49ers, another linebacker.
Yeah. Boy, I thought linebackers were really overdrafted.
6, JT Tuimoloau with the Colts.
Right? Yeah, but he'll be in a rotation.
7, Omar Norman Lott, defensive tackle with the Chiefs.
Yes, but really a spot player.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like
what he is.
If they're winning and it's loud in Arrowhead and he comes in to close out games right next to Chris Jones, cool.
8 is Nick Scourton with edge rusher with the Panthers.
Not much competition, but they also did draft Prince Yu. I would think Scourton's more the early down guy and Prince is more the late down guy.
Yeah. 9, Andrew Makuba with safety with the Eagles.
Could be. Gardner Johnson's gone, so there's a path.
10, Jacob Parrish, cornerback with the Tampa Buccaneers.
It's interesting he doesn't mention Benjamin, who was drafted ahead of him, because and then you draft Parrish as slot outside capable, an umbrella in case Ben Morrison isn't ready.
3 more to watch. Baron Sorrell, edge rusher with the Packers, 124th pick.
I'm not sure that path is great.
Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, defensive lineman with the Vikings.
Maybe part of the rotation.
Guy, yeah.
Those other guys are a little older that they signed.
And then Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle with the Dolphins.
Yeah, but they drafted Grant.
He's strictly a run stuffer, too.
It's early down next to Grant to get big and tough.
What kind of impact he's going to make.
Impact's a big word.
Yeah.
Any Steeler defensive rookies come out to mind?
For Jack Sawyer to make an impact means that something bad happened.
Right. I mean, I'd be disappointed if Harmon didn't make an impact.
But this was guys outside
the first round. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Then, no, I don't think there's somebody that's, I think Black will see the field some, make an impact is in the NFL
He'll make
levels.
a Jordan Phillips like impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if
stopping the run.
3rd guy on early downs type of dude, cool.
Yeah. But just an interesting little look there at that. Mm-hmm. That was by Field Yates. And that's a tougher, like everybody thinks their first round pick is going to make an impact.
Sure. And 15 of them do.
Yeah.
5 get hurt. Some guys are swimming. Somebody gets, in a bad system or whatever,
Yeah. Anyways, let's get to another break. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back to finish up the show right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, the NFL announcing this morning, September 4th, the league will kick off the 2025 season, 8:20 p.m. at Lincoln Financial Field. The Eagles hosting the Cowboys.
Wow, that's the Thursday nighter then, huh? That's opening night. I always feel for the team that's the guest. I mean, you're just walking into a buzzsaw. They're hanging banners. You're getting rings. Oh, by the way, it's the team that just won the Super Bowl, and they're really good in their building. Every eyeball on you. But Cowboys sell too. I mean, it doesn't matter who goes in there.
I was actually surprised it was the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Because you're kind of wasting another feature team.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone's going to watch.
It could have been the Lions. It could have been any of those games were going to get eyeballs on it.
100%. But I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I like hearing it. It's like I'd watch Eagles Cowboys opening night right now. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right. But long way away. But it is scheduled release week.
It is scheduled release week. Tomorrow, when we show up for this show, the league will have announced all the international games.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool, right? And obviously the Steelers are very relevant in that manner.
Yes, we will know who the Steelers' opponent and date,
time, all that stuff
for the game in Ireland.
What kickoff time do you expect? Eastern.
Well, would
that be like a 9:30 game?
They're 5 hours ahead of us. I believe 5 hours ahead of us.
See, I don't know that. That's why I was trying to figure it out. So that would be, that would make some sense. They're usually earlier than 1. It's usually a standalone game.
Well, if it starts, I would assume 9:00 Sunday morning here.
Yeah.
Which would be basically 2:00 in the afternoon there.
Okay.
So
that's usually about when the international games are.
Which is why you don't necessarily need to have the open buy date after that game.
Yeah, that is a nice perk. Good point. You get it out of the way Eastern time. If you just live on an Eastern time clock the whole time, it's early, but you've been there for a while, and you get out of there quick.
And you're flying back, and it's no different to going to the West Coast.
I mean, they'll fly back right after the game, just like if they played Seattle or whatever, right? So you're done by noon Eastern. You're home by 5 or 6 Eastern Sunday day. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So
we will know that this time tomorrow, right?
What's Tyler sending me here? 8:32 p.m. Yeah, 5 hours. That's what I said.
Yep. Okay.
You're sending me this like I was wrong about this, and I'm like, no, it's 5 hours.
Confirming.
You got to take your win.
It's 5 hours. And it's not the same as going to London, for example.
Why is that?
You're a little closer.
Oh, okay.
Not a great deal closer.
They're in the same time zone, though, right?
They're in the same time, but you probably save, I don't know what the flight to Ireland from Dublin to London is. I don't know about an hour, but I'll bet it's at least 45 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes.
Let alone the Germany games or
like if you were driving. If you were driving, we're going to have Michael McQuaid on tomorrow, who's part of
he's a blast,
NFL Ireland. I might ask him that. If you were able to drive a car from Dublin to London, how long would that take?
Gotcha.
I wonder if it's like driving to Philly. Driving, it's not an hour.
No, it's not an hour drive, right? Yeah. It's like an hour flight.
But would that be like driving to Philly, or would that be like driving to Indy?
I have no clue.
They're not technically as the crow flies, or the swallow flies.
Right. There you go.
As the swallow flies, it's not that far.
No, but actual drive time would be rough.
Yeah, like if you take a flight from Pittsburgh to Philly, you're up, you're down. Mm-hmm. It's still half hour ish.
I've mentioned this on the air before, but we joke about it on my other podcast because he's a Cali guy and I'm a Pennsylvania guy. So all of us people on this side of the country just think Northern California and Southern California, you're just
not close at all.
You're real close to each other.
Yeah.
People on that side of the country just think Pittsburgh and Philly, you can walk there.
We had that. So
Pennsylvania, right?
We were in Denver one year for a Steeler game. And me and a couple of the guys went out for an adult beverage at night, and the place we were going to was carding everybody. And the guy looked at our driver's licenses and said, "Oh, you guys are from Pennsylvania. We just beat your baseball team." And I'm like, "The Pirates? It was playoff time."
Oh, okay. Couldn't have been the Pirates.
I'm like, "It wasn't the Pirates. What are you talking about?" He goes, "Oh, the Phillies. We just beat the Phillies." I'm like, "Dude, they're 6 hours away."
They're not even in the football world, they're not even one of your closest competitors.
You remember
right?
Kevin Jones, the running back the Lions drafted?
Oh, yeah.
Virginia Tech
dude, right.
I was reading something one time. It was online, and I knew the author, and he wrote that the Steelers would be interested in drafting the local product, Kevin Jones, and I'm like, he's from Chester.
I remember he came out
outside of Philadelphia.
Right.
And I emailed him, and I'm like, hey, dude, Chester's nowhere near Pittsburgh.
He was a lot closer to Virginia Tech than he was to
He's closer
Pitt.
to Baltimore.
Right.
He's closer to D.C. than he is.
Right.
Well, Tyler's now you're getting me information I can use.
Okay, look at Tyler.
So if you were able to drive with the ferry,
including the ferry service, right? Which is a direct shot.
8 hours.
8-hour ride. Wow, okay.
And the ferry doesn't move necessarily real fast. But there's a reason why they went back and forth.
But they also don't have to go around mountains and stuff.
That's true.
They can go
straight shot across
do the crow flies thing.
Yeah. I don't even know what's that sea called? Is that the Irish Sea? I'm not sure.
No, this is more up your alley.
Well, that's taking the ferry way north too. Well, no, I guess that's pretty direct. 8 hours, so
okay,
that's not bad.
But you're right about the original
But by
point,
plane, it takes an hour and 20 minutes.
So your original point is flying home from London is different than flying home from Dublin.
Yeah, a little quicker.
Right. It's like flying home from Philly. If you were on their end, if Mike tomorrow came from Pittsburgh, it's a lot farther than going to Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah, same type of deal.
There you go.
Okay.
So
I'd
we will
like to
have
talk to him. He's a good time.
Yeah, we'll have him on tomorrow to talk about the game. Now that he'll actually know, we'll know.
I'm sure so many people are on the edge of their seats of
It's
travel
a huge
arrangements.
deal over
Yeah,
there too.
yeah.
Like
Well, that
they
part,
want to
too.
know.
I'm talking about the Pittsburghers going over.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know. I've been, as you have been, for months. When are we going to know? When are we going to know? I got to make plans. Which is cool.
We'll see. It could be Green Bay, could be Minnesota.
Vikings have a chance too, right?
Could be. I think the Jets were one. No, maybe not the Jets. I can't remember who the other one was now, but
There's
I think
a
it's one.
possibility,
I think it's one of those two, and it'd be
We'll
interesting.
know what week and
Last time the Steelers did play overseas was in London. They played Minnesota.
nice. Yeah,
So if it happens to be Minnesota again, little known trivia thing for you: the Vikings actually founded Dublin,
not the Minnesota Vikings.
not the Minnesota
Right.
version of
Those
them. but
Vikings were busy.
The Norway version of the Vikings.
Right. They were
Yeah.
busy crew.
They were everywhere.
They were pretty
They
good at
traveled well.
They traveled well. You didn't like seeing the Viking boat come up to
No,
your hometown.
they brought a good crowd with them.
Right. It was going to go their way too. They were.
Not always. They weren't as fearsome as they
Really?
lost some battles.
I thought they had a lot of first round picks on that team.
They were
pretty good at what they did.
They were pretty pinpoint with what they were attacking.
Okay.
They did a lot of attacking of monasteries and things of that nature.
So maybe better strategy, better coaching than giving
They
credit
had good
for,
coaching, yeah.
less talent than giving credit for.
The
but better
monasteries
coaching.
had, because of course they weren't Christians, they didn't care.
Oh, no, right.
So they had no problem raiding a monastery, which had a lot of gold,
Oh,
chalices and
Right,
things of that
right,
nature,
right.
crosses, and taking that, the monks weren't going to fight you for
Paid
it.
off well.
Yeah.
Right,
And
right.
there you go.
Good coaching.
Good coaching.
I like it.
Yeah. In that case, it was the Jimmies and Joes, but it was also the X's and O's.
But the X's and O's don't get enough credit.
Yeah.
Jimmy's and Joe's get a lot of credit there, but maybe they're not quite as strong as you
Or
think.
the Savens and Odins,
Exactly.
Thors.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's going to do it for today's show.
Going out with a bang.
Went out with the bang.
We'll come in with some Europe talk as well.
We will.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about tomorrow. We'll have all the international games scheduled. That's going to be interesting as well. Not just the Steelers and who they host, but there's other
quite a few of
international
them, right,
games. And,
right.
and this is only continuing to ramp up.
The whole week's
It
going
won't
to be
be
scheduled
long
stuff, right?
before teams will have to go internationally every year.
You think that every team will go internationally at least once a year at some point?
I think that's part of the 17 to 18 game schedule.
Yeah. So you think there'll be at least 16 games per year?
I think ideally that's what the league is moving towards.
and everyone will get one.
Yeah.
Or Jacksonville could get two. They had two before.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll know a lot tomorrow.
We certainly will. We'll know more than we did today.
Indeed.
Not that that's saying a whole lot.
Right.
Apparently. Anyways, for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site, running the Justin Miller hotline and keeping us on the air, and for Tyler Vittmeyer, making sure our video gets out there onto YouTube. Give us a thumbs up there. I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.